Of all the female sins, hunger is the least forgivable. Hunger for anything, for food, sex, power, education, even love. If we have desires, we are expected to conceal them, to control them, to keep ourselves in check. We're supposed to be objects of desire, not desiring things. Lori Penny, Unspeakable Things. Hunger, an incredibly basic bodily response to keep our brains and bodies functioning, and yet one that has been twisted and manipulated throughout history. I recently finished reading Hungerstone by Kat Dunn and Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen, two books that center around a woman who meets another mysterious woman and, let's say, corrupts them. Both set in the 1800s, in a remote home, and married to horrible husbands. There's mystery, desire, sex, blood, guts, and revenge. After reading both books, I myself felt ravenous for something. There was an anger boiling up inside me that I couldn't quite place, and it wasn't until one day when I was randomly scrolling on TikTok and I came across one of those videos where someone is commenting on someone else's what I eat in a day that it kind of clicked. I notoriously don't like those videos, but it made me realize why I was so angry. These two books that I picked up thinking they were just like queer vampire novels, there was actually something way deeper. It was about women's very first sin: hunger. Eve's hunger for that all too delicious fruit in the Garden of Eden led to woman's pain in childbirth, shame around her own naked form, and is eventually what expelled her and Adam from the paradise that was Eden to wander the wastelands. It's one story that has been told time and again and shaped the way women have lived for millennia: starving. I really started to dive deep into this topic about how a woman's appetite, both physical and metaphorical, has been demonized and used as a tool by the patriarchy to keep femme presenting people down. And when I say patriarchy, I do not exclusively mean men. I mean anyone who operates from a top level where they are withholding the values of the patriarchy. Just like my feminism is not exclusive to cis-born women, it includes any femme-presenting person. In Hungerstone, we read about Lenore's desire and how she tries to quell it with these sugary candies called pastilles. Carmilla even says to Lenore many times, "You are feeding the wrong hunger." And I was so focused on this implied romantic desire that I actually missed all the time she desired to eat more. While around the dinner table, she compares herself to the other women in the room and how much is on their plate. This act of comparing plates is honestly a normal part of my life, has been a normal part of my life, that I just took it as something women do versus what it really was in this book, which was a literary device that Dunn was using to explore hunger in other ways. And I want to read kind of a little passage from it so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. Passage is a bit into the book where Lenore finally, the main character, finally starts to recognize her hunger and tap into a more animalistic version of hunger. One that is certainly not becoming to a woman, especially one set in Victorian England. Cora and Henry take their seats, and I take mine as the servants bring in the first course of turbot and Dutch sauce. My hunger is strong enough that I eat before the dish touches the table, scooping flakes of fish into my mouth and licking the sauce from my fork. Cora is watching me in horrid fascination, so I stick out my tongue with the masticated lump of fish on it, and she looks away quickly, color in her cheeks. The food is like dirt as I swallow it, tasteless and false. I choke it down, nausea rising. We eat in silence, and I am done too soon, pushing the plate away in dissatisfaction. I have always eaten to numb myself, but now there is no blindfold thick enough to obscure my dissatisfaction. Fast forward a little bit, we got to, "Do you want something else?" asked Cora nervously. I lean forward, urgent. Yes, that is the question. What do I want? A question for which I have no answer. I thought it was the perfect mastery of myself and my world, to know and excel within any situation, to be impeachable, impervious, to survive at all costs, but that is nothing but scraps of life. I was starving and thought myself at a banquet. I was gagged when I read that last line. The diet culture of now compared to earlier ones is much more understated and aesthetic. It hides behind false body positivity, carefully edited vlogs, and wellness culture. You don't notice that the voices telling you to eat less and work out more aren't your own. They sound like you because they're in your head, but they're not you. And it happens in small ways at first. The world feels so out of control, and you realize that this is the one thing you can control. We're only human, so we crave that control no matter how fleeting it is. Food and your body are the only things you can think about. You cannot fight back. You are weaker because you are getting less nutrients. You have brain fog because of how hungry you are. You become more irritable. Your sleep becomes more erratic. You are now in survival mode. You cannot fight back. And who wins when you can't fight back? And I'm not even talking about physical strength. I'm talking about the mental capacity to question what you are being told, to have hard conversations with your friends and family, to stand up for what you believe in. When you can't do that, the patriarchy wins. Now, we can debate if thinness ever really goes out of style, but I do not think that it's a coincidence that there is the rise of diet culture with the rise of fascism in America. Before I go further, I do want to make a disclaimer here that I know that not every culture sees thinness as good. These are very important air quotes. Some cultures and even some eras of society, the opposite had been true, when being skinny was bad and being fat was more desirable. But for this sake, I will be speaking with some generality, as I am just speaking from my experience as a thin white woman in America who grew up in the 2000s. This practice, so to say, of using thinness and diet culture to oppress is not actually a new political movement. In fact, in American culture, thinness is tied to slavery. I want to use this section from Lois Shering's op-ed piece, How the Far Right is Using Thinness to Radicalize Women and Teen Girls, because it does a good job of summarizing kind of all the facts that are surrounding how thinness and slavery are tied together. In Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia, Sabrina Strings, professor and North Hall chair of Black Studies at the University of California, outlines how during the transatlantic slave trade, colonists associated heaviness with Africans not having the intellectual capacity for self-discipline, which in turn was used to justify beliefs that Africans were morally weaker. To the extent that people were linking indulgence in the oral appetite to an animalistic inability to control oneself, fatness became linked to the racial group adjudged to lack the capacity for self-government. Black people, Stings told the Daily Kos blog in 2020. She explained that this type of race science was used to instruct people, particularly white women, about the proper ways to present in public. It's here that thin supremacy began to be used to police the borders of white womanhood, positioning it as demure, delicate, and self-sacrificing. I knew when I was putting this video and these thoughts together that I wanted to pull like real life examples and not just kind of use the literary elements of a novel to explain how I'm feeling. These two books that I spoke about in the beginning were kind of simply the vehicle to put all of my feelings and thoughts together to make this video that is near and dear to my heart, that thinness is not everything, and in fact it is mostly used to control you. So when I came across this article and that quote, I was definitely shocked and not shocked. I think if you grow up in America, unfortunately, a lot of systems that we have in place have been built on, the backs of slavery, but I can't remember ever discussing this form of justification in school for it. I don't think it was ever mentioned that there was this way to almost like explain to white women why this was okay, and in a very like roundabout way saying that, oh, they are larger than you, they can't, so that means they can't control what they eat, so we must control them. Like, the mental racist gymnastics that is used to justify slavery is, and this is obviously putting it lightly, insane. But how we then, as women, are also pitted against each other in a womanhood way, not even just like a race way. I hope my thoughts are like coming out clearly on this very sensitive topic. Later on in history, we see this happen again with fascism in World War II. It is during World War II that the term body fascism is actually coined, and they were body and diet standards of the fascist regimes of Italy and Germany during that time. Germany probably having the most infamous of body standards, that being Aryan and thin were superior. This conversation of policing of body fascism extends further than just thinness. It can apply to other beauty standards like hair, makeup, skincare, shaving, clothes, etc. I'm sure I'll be making other videos about those as well. I just focus mostly on thinness and dieting because in my own algorithm I'm seeing the warning signs of another thinspiration movement. I have been through it all before and came out the other side, but I could not stand idly by while I see the new movement get its claws into a new generation. Another nuance to this conversation is obviously that wanting to lose weight, work out more, or eat healthier are not bad or wrong. It's your body and it can look how you want it to. But I do want to make it clear within what I'm trying to say here is those 5 extra pounds that you want to lose are not going to solve your life's problems. Like Harry Bradshaw once said to Charlotte in Sex and the City, the problem isn't your thighs, it's in your head. And really what I think should be added is it's other people's voices in your head. Well, putting this together, the song Good Girl by Paris Paloma came out, which is a must listen if you are interested in this sort of thing. And the song talks about this topic, how, again, being thin is seen as good. I pulled a few quotes from that song that I'm going to read. A good girl always looks and never be. Heaven is a fed girl. And if you call me good girl one more time, then my fist will meet your skull. It sounds a lot better when it's sung by Paris. Believe me, we do not want me singing. The violence in that song mirrors the violence that happens in Hungerstone and Blood on Her Tongue, that after being a good girl for so long, something inside you will crack and the woman is finally free from these arbitrary constraints. We are not born hating ourselves. We are taught it, sometimes overtly, but mostly subtly. I implore you to ask yourself, is this something you genuinely want to change about yourself? Or are these self-destructive thoughts because you think being thin equals beautiful and that is paramount to anything else? Who is benefiting from you being so hungry that you cannot think about anything else, that you become compliant? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is very different than any content I have ever made before, especially if you are someone who has been watching my content. I took quite like a 2-year break trying to figure myself out, life out, all of it. I'll probably do like a video on that, whatever. Other videos that I have planned are like comparing the Wuthering Heights book to the Wuthering Heights movie, the Odyssey, when that movie comes out, comparing those, and probably even Epic, the musical, which is also about the Odyssey. Other themes that I found in books. I want to do a deep dive into 1984. Again, feels very pertinent now more than ever. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to delete anything necessarily from what I've been creating before because I'm not too embarrassed, maybe a little embarrassed by some of this stuff, but that was the chapter of my life. I still enjoy beauty and everything, and I might do some tie-ins here and there. We'll see where it goes, but this is just a new chapter. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it made sense. It took me a long time to kind of write this and put my thoughts together just because it was so different, and it is scary to use your voice and how you really feel about something that's very serious. I obviously recommend both of these books. I love them a lot. I think they are not only really well written and kind of have all the stuff a gothic horror needs. I love a book that you kind of sit with it and you go, I don't like it, but the reason you don't like it is because it turns a mirror on yourself and you have to do a whole video about how you feel. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, and I will see you in the next one.